welcome to the first video for A5, and in this we're going to look at the gradient of straight line graphs. So let's have a look at some straight line graphs. There's one, and there's another one, we'll have a blue one, shall we? There we go. Now what we can say is that the green one is the steepest and the shallowest is the blue one. Now we don't think about steepest and shallowest, we use a word to describe how steep the lines are, and that's called the gradient. So the gradient is a measure of how steep a line is. And the green one, we say, has got the largest gradient, and the blue one has got the smallest gradient. Okay, so how do we work out the gradient of a line? Well, there's a line there, drawn on our axes. Now what we do, we draw a little triangle using the graph like that. Now it could be any triangle, but we set it up so that we can measure the distances on this triangle nice and easily. So if you look across the bottom there, now that distance is 3 squares. Okay, it goes from 1 to 4, so that's a distance of 3. And now the distance going up, well, if you count them, that's a distance of 6 squares, so a distance of 6. And the gradient is defined to be the vertical distance divided by the horizontal distance. So the vertical distance, the distance up, is 6, horizontal distance across is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we say the gradient of that green line is 2. Let's have a look at another one then. So let's have a think what we do. We draw our triangle in, and it could be any triangle, but we do it sensibly so that we can measure the distances on that triangle nice and easily. And now we measure the distance from the line to the corner of that triangle like that. That distance is 2 squares, and then we go up till we hit the line again, so then we go up, and that distance is 6. And the gradient, 6 divided by 2, is 3. Now, as I said, it doesn't really matter where you draw the triangle. Now let's just have a look at that, and let's draw different triangles on that same green line. So there's the green line again, same one. Let's draw a big triangle there like that. Now the distance across the bottom from the line to the corner of the triangle is 3. Okay, and then the distance going up till we hit the green line again, and that's a distance of 9. And the gradient, 9 divided by 3 is 3. So the gradient is still 3. It doesn't matter which triangle you take. You could even take a little tiny one up there like that, look. The distance across from the green line to the corner of the triangle is 1 square. Distance going up is 3. So the gradient, 3 divided by 1, which is 3. So let's have a look at one more. And there we have it. Nice straight line. Let's draw a triangle. Measure the distance across from the line to the corner of the triangle. That's 2 squares. Going up is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the gradient is 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So that's how we measure the gradient of a straight line graph. Are there any complications? Well, it could be something like this. Now let's have a look. Let's draw our triangle. Now if we measure the distance going from the graph to the corner of the triangle, this time we're actually going in a negative direction. So that distance is -3. And then when we go up to hit the graph again, that's positive, so that's a plus, or we just write the number of 6. So the gradient this time is 6 divided by -3. So the gradient is actually -2. Okay, so let's have a look at another one with a minus gradient. There we go. So we draw our triangle, and we go from our green line to the corner of the triangle. So that's a distance in the negative direction of 3. So that distance is -3. Now the distance going up till we hit the line is +9, or just 9. So the gradient is 9 divided by -3. And remember, positive divided by negative gives a negative answer. So the gradient is -3. Now people get a little bit confused about positive and negative gradients. No real need. This should illustrate it nice and easily. So we've got our axes there, x-axis going across, y-axis going up. Now when you get a graph that goes like these green ones, the bottom left to the top right, those graphs have a positive gradient. And then if we go from top left down to bottom right, like the blue ones, well, they have a negative gradient. Okay, so let's just have one of each. There we go. So positive, the green one, positive gradient, and the blue one is a negative gradient. Okay, so over to you now for a little exercise. 4 graphs drawn in your homework book. Work out the gradients, okay, of each of the 4 graphs. Press pause, and when you want to check your answers, press play. Okay, how'd you get on? Now your triangle might not be exactly the same as mine. It could be bigger, it could be smaller, but the gradient should come out the same. Now the triangle I've drawn there, what's the distance across? So that's 3, and then going up is 6. So that means the gradient, 6 divided by 3 equals 2. Now you may well have a different triangle. It might be bigger, it might be smaller, but whatever triangle you draw, you should still get the same gradient of 2 for number 1. Let's have a look at number 2. So I'm going to draw a fairly big triangle on there. Distance across is 2, and the vertical distance going up, well, what's that, 8. So the gradient, 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Okay, now number 3, we can see that's a negative gradient straight away because it goes from top left to bottom right. So what a lot of people do is just measure the triangle and then put the minus at the end because they know it's a negative gradient. So let's have a look then. I've drawn, well, it's a big triangle there. So distance going across, so that's a minus 4. And then the distance going up, what's that? That's 12. So we've got 12 divided by minus 4. And that's a gradient of minus 3. Okay, so let's have a look at the last one. Another negative gradient, top left down to the bottom right. Let's put a triangle in. Once again, your triangle might not be the same size as mine, but the gradient should come out the same. And then the distance going across, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a minus direction. So a distance of minus 5. Going up is 5. Gradient, 5 divided by minus 5 is minus 1. So there we have it. You now know how to measure the gradient of a straight line graph. So that's it for this one. On the next video, we're going to have a look at how we get the equation of a straight line graph. So I'll speak to you on that one. Bye for now.